Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Majid, live from my bunker in Palm Desert, California. With me is 99 World Cup winner Saskia Webber. And I was just about to say Instagram sensation Omar Zini is the next person right now. But I was going to also say YouTube sensation Omar Zini after seeing all the videos you've been posting in the past week, man, on the Pro GK Academy site. Those are big time. But joining us is someone who's an even bigger sensation than Omar Zini, if that's even possible. We have a Colombian women's national team goalkeeper and AFC Fiorentina goalkeeper, Catalina Perez. Did I say that with the proper thing going on, whatever that is? The roll?
Almost, yeah.
Almost.
Perez, yeah.
Perez?
Yeah.
She's
Maybe
like,
you should leave this stuff up to me.
We'll leave it up to you. Okay, so Catalina Perez. Boy, my mom is going to hear this. So Catalina, I'm Venezuelan, and my mom's going to hear this, and she's like, "No, Michael, this is not you. You have lost your accent completely." That's how my mom talks, guys. At least in my head, that's how she talks. Oh, this episode's all over the place. Speaking of all over the place, we are going to be talking a fantastic topic today, guys. We're going to be talking about balls being redirected. One of the reasons we wanted to talk about this is because I was watching a bunch of footage of Catalina recently. And honestly, she's one of the best in the game at this. She's one of the best in the game. As you can see her right there in that picture that Omar's got behind him. She's focused, looking at the ball, following through all the way, making sure that she redirects that ball into a good space. So guys, let's kind of get into this. Like what is kind of a redirection? And how's this kind of like different from like a parry or a steer of a shot that's on goal? Whoever wants to start out. We can let our guest do it if you want. Up to you, Kat.
Whatever you guys say.
All right. Well, let's bring it up to you. That's okay. We got dogs. We got people in the background. So, Kat, in your opinion, what is a redirection? What is a redirection of a flighted ball?
To me, it's when maybe it has too much power. The spin is too much for you to hold on to it like securely. So it's about redirecting it out of the danger area, whether that be a corner or corner or just out of like where there's people.
Yeah.
I would say. So it's about just like knowing where you are and knowing like the speed and the spin of the ball and like taking that correct decision and doing it like with the correct weight, so that you successfully like push it out but don't like slap at it.
Yeah. By the way, one of the things that I absolutely love about this show, we've been having the international thing, is that we have guests coming on here who are discussing really deep, thought-provoking goalkeeping knowledge. And I'm just like, man, if I had to try to do this in Spanish right now, do you know how bad it would be? I would be like, I don't know, afuera, el balón afuera. And that's how far I would get. I love the fact that you brought up the change of the speed, because I think that's one of the issues that a lot of young goalkeepers don't understand, is that the ball already has speed on it. So if you try to put your own weight into it, the ball's not going to keep moving. The ball's going to stop, and now you're going to get in a bad situation. Right, Sask?
right, Sask? Do you agree with me? Tell me you agree with me. Yeah, no, I agree. Sorry. I think that the key thing here is consciously redirecting. Like, it's not just like a quick parry or something like that. Whether the ball has spin on it, whether the ball has movement on it, everything, you realize it's coming into a danger zone, and you're redirecting it in, like you said, Kelly, into a safe situation. Like, whether it's out towards the sideline, whether it's towards a corner flag, whether it's up towards outside the top of the corner of the 18, but it's a conscious attempt. It's not random. You're not slapping at it. Hopefully, you're not slapping at it. It's a decision that you're making to redirect it.
This really brings me back to what Omar, and I know Omar always throws this guy under the bus, the poor guy who his old Galaxy Academy goalkeeper coach. But he was very against you redirecting balls, right? He was very much about catching the ball over and over again, right, Omar?
I think the way he was taught was try and catch everything you can. But the biggest thing that he would tell us is that, like the Catalina and Saskia said, is just be convincing with what you're doing. Obviously, if you make a decision, you gotta, go 100% with it. I think there were times where I would kind of be 50-50, where I would go and it was a ball that I could probably catch, but I would end up pushing. And there was one of those times where he got into my head, and multiple times I was trying to catch balls that I shouldn't be trying to catch. So I was trying through trial and error, figuring out what was the zone and what was my range of balls that I could try and catch and which ones that I should try and push and redirect into a safe area. So I think for any coaches or even goalkeepers out there, just understanding that it's such a fine line between those two decisions, but understanding through trial and error, through training. And I think from us coaches, allowing those goalkeepers to find their range and understanding when to and when not to do it, I think that's really important. So that's at least you are convincing and you can make a specific decision once you step into one of those environments.
Yeah, and one of the things I hate the most, and I'm sure you all can attest to this, is you got that kid that's got it in his head, I'm gonna, like, whether it's a corner, whether it's a service, I'm gonna redirect. I'm going to block this ball. And that's their whole thought process. They're going in and basically they already got their hands together and everything, and they could have just opened their hands and catch it. Yes, I was taught to catch everything as well, honestly. But with the movement on the ball, the pace of the ball nowadays and the spin and stuff, you have to make those instant decisions. But when you make that decision, it's got to be with conviction. It's got to be with intent. It can't just be, like Catalina said, slapping at the ball. Getting caught in between.
Yeah. Kat,
I agree with that.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That you can't, like, before the game be like, all right, I'm going to redirect everything. It has to be like play-by-play decision. But once you make that decision, it's like sticking through it. Either you catch or you redirect, or you parry enough that, like, you can get the rebound right away. But I think it's like, and I feel like a lot of people can only say maybe, oh, you could have caught that or this or that. But I think that what's important is that you're in the game, you see it in that moment, and just, like, sticking with the decision and following through with it.
Yeah. So, Kat, I want to ask you, because you're obviously playing at a very high level right now. By the way, congrats at the new gig over in Italy. That must be a pretty cool experience over there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, because you're in that situation, you're playing at the high level. There's some situations where, honestly, if you do try to catch the ball, even if maybe you could have caught that ball, the risk versus the reward of trying to catch that ball, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, right?
Yeah. And practice, I feel like if you want to try to catch everything, that's the place to do it. But in a game, it's like taking that smart decision of, like, because the stakes are high, and it's like just like I said before, and like everyone has said here, just like sticking with the decision, and like trusting, like, your initial thought process.
I can't tell you how many kids, and I'm sure you all three of you guys see this all the time. When you were saying the stick to the decision, they don't. They go. My favorite game of my favorite game of goalkeeping is Saskia's dogs and having to go on mute. No, my favorite game of goalkeeping is when kids go out for a ball to catch it, and then at the last minute, they try to box it. They try to redirect it. But because they already had their open fists, they never get a clean hold at it. And then you get the other kids who come in with, like, a baseball bat, basically, and they're running at the ball, and they basically try to swing at everything, and the ball's actually coming in low, so there's no way for them to box that ball. And I think that, like you were saying, it's like it's a trial and error. And, like, when you were younger, was this something that you were encouraged to just be able to make mistakes in order to be able to kind of find your time? Because I'm dead serious. I think your timing is really good on boxes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Well, I don't think I was, like, given the freedom to test out. I just feel like, for me, like, growing up as a goalkeeper, it was it was challenging because I started goalkeeping in the States, where the technique is, like, one way, and then when I was 14, I went to my first national team camp, and they're like, okay, we like what we see, but you have to learn this whole another technique. And it's like, okay, like, but then you're kind of like, what's right and what's wrong? Like, is it like diving and standing up without my hands, or is it using one hand? Is it redirecting more, or trying to catch more? Is it like jumping up with one foot and landing with one, or is it landing with two? And so I feel like I like struggled with that, or like, do I do like the South American style dive where I like turn my whole body to go the other direction? So I think it was really challenging to figure out, okay, like, I really want to make the Colombian national team, so I have to learn how to do this, but maybe my body does another movement better and I think I'm more effective at it in a game. So it's like about balancing it. And I think like in the end that helped me like have a broader like toolkit of things to do like in a game. So I'm thankful for that, but it was definitely like challenging to know who to listen to most, or so
Oh,
I think in Colombia it was redirecting a lot because the training is, you're like always working on like jumping and reacting. So it was just like they would kick so many balls at you that like even catching all of them was like impossible. It was like, okay, dive here, dive there. And then like when I got to back to the States, they're like, no, wait, footwork and catching the ball. And then it was okay, so let me do that because in college I want to start, so I have to show them that I can do that. So then it's like just finding that balance. And I think that, I mean, it was really challenging, but I think in the end it helped my development to have to deal with that and learn multiple ways of goalkeeping.
yeah, I love the fact that you brought that up because that's actually something we've talked about on this show quite a bit, both Omar and Saskia, in regards to as we become better goalkeeper coaches, you know, and I know obviously you're still in your playing career, we need to start understanding it's not about us and what we want the goalkeeper to do. It's about what's going to be successful for the goalkeeper. And I think the benefit for you is that you've gotten this, for a lack of a better term, you South American style, but also got this quote unquote American style. And I think it's actually helped you become the goalkeeper that you are today because you've been able to pick and choose what works in different circumstances for you. Like maybe there's certain times, I think Omar even talked about this, like there's sometimes he's like, well, actually he's used the spin move where he never would have even thought about using that before because he'd been told that, oh, this is bad goalkeeping. This is bad goalkeeping. You always want to be facing out. You don't want to use that thing. Right, Omar?
Yeah, very, very similar to that. But I think, again, it comes down to, you know, the coaching staff and kind of how they manage it. And there's certain situations where what I would tell kids is like, look, you know, I'm going to try and teach you something new. It's going to be not a rough period, but it's going to be it's kind of be one of those periods that you're going to have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And then I'm just going to give you kind of a safe space and that freedom to try new things. So obviously, if you revert back to your own technique, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to continuously, you know, try and let you know that what I'm looking for is not what you're doing. So maybe we can try and collaborate and find a middle ground. But at the same time, too, those conversations between you and I'm not trying to tell you you're wrong and vice versa. Let's just try and see if maybe what I can give you, those little tools in your toolbox, it helps you so that in those, you know, emergency situations or in the situations where you kind of have to call on multiple techniques, you at least have the ability to use both. And for me, it was the spin technique at times, but it was also the knee drop. So I would see like a shot coming through traffic and I would automatically drop, not both knees, but almost, you know, beyond both knees more or less. Cause that's how I was taught in like the Latin American style, was to drop both knees. So I have both my legs behind me. And my goalkeeper coach told me, he said, look, you can't drop both knees, Omar. You know, I've told you a story about how many Mexican goalkeepers are in the Premier League and how many American goalkeepers in the Premier League. So he told me that story multiple times. And he said, until you essentially don't drop both knees, I'm going to tell you that the American way or the European way is the right way to do it. And there were times where I would still drop both knees and I'd be successful and he wouldn't say anything after a game. But there were also times where in training, there were times where balls would squeeze between my legs because I was, you know, trying the new technique. And he was very open. He said, okay, I understand we're trying to transition. I'm not going to get upset. If it goes in, it goes in, but I want you to start building that muscle memory. So I think from both, I think I had to be open, but at the same time too, the coach needs to be open as well to let you know that, hey, it's going to be a trial period. Don't get frustrated. It's okay. Give yourself a few months or even a few weeks. And then once those weeks pass, then we can kind of revisit this and see where you are. But they need to have that safe space to try new things and for coaches to allow their goalkeepers to add new things to their game.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And I know Saskia does because she gets very, very amped about this sort of thing. Like, you have to let your goalkeepers, and again, I'm going to bring it back to Catalina right here, is like that, like, if you did not get the opportunity. Go ahead. Go ahead, Saskia. You go.
No, I know what you're going to say. And absolutely, you have to look at your goalkeeper and see what works best for them. And let's take the spin. Let's take the spin technique to just like, like getting up off the ground with all your weight forward. I've looked at my goalkeepers and I've seen what works for them. Aiden, the spin technique works for him because when I try to get him to go in a traditional way with the kicks, like kicking up and everything like that, he still ends up on his heel and his body weight's forward. But when he does a spin technique, for some reason, he gets up quicker and his body weight's forward. So I have to take it, that doesn't work for Kaden, or that doesn't work for Daniel. Like, you, at a certain level, you have to meld everything and see what works individually, efficiently for that keeper. Yeah. Give them the options to choose between different things, which I have, but then figure out what works best for them.
Yeah. Getting back kind of to redirection, and the reason I want to bring it back to the redirection is because I think personally that this is one of the most difficult skills for someone to really learn how to redirect a ball into a good space, into a good area. How many times have I seen goalkeepers who just think it's clearing a ball? They think of it as like clearing a ball rather than actually playing the ball into a space where they know now that they're going to have defenders that are going to be able to drop to help them out in a supporting position. They can get a little bit deeper, and now they've got their angles sort of covered. So, Kat, going back to you, I kind of want to know, like, in what situations do you feel the most comfortable boxing the ball out?
Like punching?
Yeah.
Before I go, I realized I got really into the redirecting, and I didn't even say that I'm really, really thankful to be here with you guys. And, this is like an amazing opportunity, and thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. Are you kidding us?
Hold on. You've played against you've played against, like, I mean, come on. Are you insane? You've won like gold medals and stuff like that. Like, and yeah, but thank you. I appreciate that. That's very. Oh,
you can keep stroking Mike's ego. We're happy to be here with you.
Yeah. All right, but sorry, I just lost. Yeah, about punching. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, like, I guess stepping back for a second and just like saying corners, I think that decision-making process is like complex because you have little time to decide, am I coming out? Am I staying? Am I punching? Or am I not? And I feel like as a young goalkeeper, a lot of times, or like it's sometimes hard that you're like, I'm going to show how decisive I am and I'm going to come out and punch the ball. And like you come out at the wrong time, take the wrong path, and they're just punching air. And it's like, oh my God, like, oh, how'd that happen? Like, okay, let me step back and like, and analyze so I don't keep making that same mistake, because it's like, I want this so bad, and I feel like that happens to a lot of us. So I feel like it's like the decision with the redirecting. It's practicing catching in complicated situations, practicing punching in complicated situations, and then making, or like even tipping and making that correct decision as it comes.
Absolutely.
But like going back to like how it's different in a different country, sometimes it's like, okay, come out and punch it with one hand, punch it with two hands, or like, hey, no, wait, when you, like, if you punch, you're losing this much of like space to like continue to redirect the ball. So it's like finding what works for you in what situations. But I feel like it's just like the redirecting of finding the correct path to the ball and knowing your surroundings of, is it possible, or is it even like likely that I can hold on to this ball? Or if I do punch it, where's the correct area to punch it?
Yeah. Go ahead, Saskia.
No, I 100% agree. This is with practice and practice and practice. This becomes a split second decision. If you're taking a path to the ball and you realize that a certain amount of people are taking the same path, you're going up in a group. Maybe you took the wrong path. Maybe the ball is spinning and you kind of misjudged it. those decisions have been made. Now I have to continue it on. Now I have to like one-handed on. Now I have to double box it because I'm going up in a crack. Now I can catch it. And the more you practice that, and the more you practice all these different scenarios, the more comfortable you get with changing your mind in the flow. Like we said, you can't say, I'm going to establish myself and whatever corner comes in, I'm just going to box it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you see kids boxing a ball that's right here, and it's like, open your hands, catch the ball. Right here, I'm boxing it. And you're like, just catch the ball. You know? No,
Guys, stop describing Omar at 12 years old, honestly. That had to come in. That jab had to come in right there.
But you can't, you have to, it's training. And it's training and training and training.
So Omar, you as one of the best goalkeeper coaches in the I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
It wasn't me. I didn't say it.
One of the top goalkeeper coaches in El Mundo. How would you build your session? Because like Kat was saying, you have to provide these different variables. You need the different scenarios in the sessions for your goalkeepers to be comfortable in them in a game. You know, we talked about it with distribution. If you're always training boxing balls in a vacuum, well, then when a game, when there's actual real elements involved, you're not going to be able to do it. So how do you do that with your sessions?
I mean, I actually just posted a session recently on my YouTube channel with a young goalkeeper he plays Division I, but you know, the way he and I communicated and conversate throughout a session is like he was just like not a beginner, but he just asked so many questions, and I love it. I just love being able to, you know, after one or two, for example, I mean, backtrack a little bit. If you watch the session, there's a time where I hit the same ball from an angle 2 or 3 times, and he steers them in three different ways. One is like below knee height. One of them, he actually closes his fist, and the other one, he closes his palms and he steers it away. And I didn't really say too much. Honestly, I said, okay, you know, yeah, we could do better. And then after the second one, I'm like, you know, it's getting into a better area. And then finally, the last one, he hit it above head height outside the 18. And I said, you know, look, yes, it's not ideal, but tell me what's going through your head and tell me why you're doing certain things like that. And he's like, you know, honestly, I think because as it's coming off your foot, I'm already deciding to punch before I even know where it's going. And I'm like, why is that? He's like, well, the way you're striking the ball and the way you're approaching the ball, it looks like you're going to hit it with a lot of force. So I'm already kind of had this preconceived idea that I'm going to resort to this default technique prior to even knowing where it's going to go. So then, yeah, just those conversations in natural, like organic ways are super, super helpful. And I found that, like Mike, you've told me, is like keep it game realistic, but let the game be the best teacher. So I don't like to do things too much in isolation anymore. I used to do them like crazy, and then I'd put them in decision-making 1v1s or, you know, shots from the angle, and they wouldn't know where to put the ball because all I'd ever focus on is holding the ball clean, making sure the rep was good. I would even apologize if my service was not right to their hands. So that's the evolution that I've had now, where it's like, don't apologize for shots outside the hands. Let them actually figure it out on the fly. Let them adjust their positioning and adjust their hands on, you know, little mini decisions. And then also too, give them the idea that it's okay to speak. It's okay to voice your opinion. It's okay to tell me what you're thinking about without ever having me criticize you, because I think the more you can get out of the goalkeeper and the more natural they feel and kind of playing off instinct versus playing off of, oh crap, Omar's going to say that I didn't catch the ball. Damn it. Okay, next time I'm going to really like try and catch the ball, even if it's not a ball that you can catch. So I think it's important to let them have that safe space to be themselves, play off instinct, and then at the same time too, those little decisions will become a little bit more natural.
Yeah, you know, one thing I want to say, and I want to bring this out to Kat right here, who I think was just about to talk, and I totally interrupted her, was that I think one of the reasons why you're so good at following through with the motion is because you don't expect the ball to be in a certain direction. And I noticed that when I was watching some of your college clips at Mississippi State and all that, was that there would be balls that be moving, and split second there'd be a redirection of that ball, and you'd be able to move and react with that ball. Where there's other goalkeepers, they've already committed to their decision and they can't adjust on the fly. So how important for you, Catalina, is it for understanding to have different types of service in your session so that you don't get comfortable with the same balls coming in over and over?
Yeah, I think it's super important. And like you said, like if there's like a ball that's like not like perfect, it like forces you to make a decision and see, okay, how am I going to deal with that? And if like in a game it's not ever going to be perfect, So so anything, I feel like anything helps. And like if you think that like, oh, I'm not gonna go for this ball in practice because X or Y reason, no, go for it, because like as crazy as the ball might be, you'll likely get a similar one in a game. And so like, and I feel like a lot throughout my career, like with like a coach, we'll do a drill and I'm like, when am I gonna use this? Like, you know, this kind of like, you know, and then like, okay, maybe it doesn't come up precisely in a game, but it gives you like a certain, it like gives you like maybe another way to work your body and to train your body into diving or to sticking with a ball, or or something like that, or like that's what it, like yeah. And
no.
so, or puts you in, or makes you uncomfortable, and like in a game you're gonna feel uncomfortable, whether it's like with the situation or with like a certain kind of dive that you have to make or a certain kind of play. So yeah, I think it's like working, and like I think it's important to do, like for example, crosses or stuff that's like simple and like that you test your range and you get your confidence, but also super important to make it like game realistic. And to like to have a lot of other players, like for corners and free kicks, I think it's like the best when you do it with the whole team and you're forced to make those decisions in crowded spaces. And that's like where you like can really really test your range, and also just establish that chemistry with your team of, okay, this is where my range is, this is what my commands sound like, and like this is where I need your help, and this is where I need you to respect. Like I feel like it's also super important that the only person that can call goalkeeper, like keeper in the box, is you. Other people can't call it for you and create like confusion. So like if you like establish that in practice of like, hey, this is my decision whether I come or go, and in practice, okay, that like we can have a discussion, okay, you want me to go into that area or not, if like whatever. But in a game, like it's like, don't call keeper for me, because that's just gonna hurt the whole team.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
No.
I'm gonna
Go ahead, Omar.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to add on to that, because I think even, and I'm sure we've all had this as players and as goalkeeper coaches, there have been times where I've like put on sessions and the goalkeeper will come out for a ball. And obviously because there's not many obstacles or there's no bodies, I mean, I put some dummies in there, but let's say the ball misses the dummies and they come through, and in a game, it's low enough where I'm saying to them, hey, don't play the drill, play like what actually would happen in a game.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, that's why we talk about, you know, I think Catalina was kind of referring to this as just understanding as well from the coach's perspective, but also the player's perspective of like, even though certain situations in training are happening, it's kind of an artificial setup in a sense, because you can't really simulate game stuff without all the stress and the chaos. But if you can try to make sessions as game realistic as possible, not just from the session design, but actually from the actual decisions, mini decisions in the session, then you're going to be a lot better off having those instinctual triggers to know exactly, okay, that ball came towards the near post, probably a little bit below head height. There's probably going to be a runner there. So I probably can't come and collect that easily. So maybe I should try and allow myself to you know, come out and maybe a full dive punch and try and get it outside the 18. So I think it's I just wanted to make that point. I think it's kind of important.
No, I completely agree with you. And by the way, the fact that Catalina got a clapping, the golf clap from Saskia, that's high praise right there. I mean, I loved the way.
Don't call keeper for my keepers. Because
no.
they stop. Because people stop. It's the dumbest thing you could ever do. Keeper. Yeah. What if she's not coming? Your defense stops, and it's dumb.
And one thing I started recognizing too is that I needed to start teaching, and this has been a theme this entire summer for me. Well, maybe it's not summer yet. It feels like it's been summer. It feels like it's been a summer.
It's not summer yet.
Spring. It's spring.
It's not even Memorial Day weekend.
Is for goalkeepers to start understanding why they're doing something from a tactical standpoint as opposed to from a technical standpoint. And I think, you know, so many people focus on a redirection from a technical standpoint is like, you want to come in through here, or if the ball's coming across you, like fingertips and redirect the ball like that. But why are you doing this? You know, and
That's something we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Always explain to the keeper why. But I think what's important is what you guys, going back on the crosses and what you guys have talked about. I think it's important, especially with the younger keepers, to establish their timing and start getting them used to what range means, and not taking a step forward automatically and stuff like that. 100%, you have to start putting active players in there. Because every goalkeeper, every young goalkeeper does this. As soon as that near post runner goes by, they go with them, and then there goes the ball. It's just a natural instinct. It's a natural instinct for keepers to kind of take that step forward. And then putting players in the mix, even if they're like they're not totally active, but they're still kind of jumping up and getting that idea, and then kind of growing with that. And then they start to understand, okay, now we have full pace game situations going on. This person's going near post, far post, slot. Now I have to focus on the ball. Get my path to the ball. Not get caught up in the runners. That's my defense's job. Not get caught up in the runners, but understand that if this is coming short, I do know there's a run and go, and yes, going, and whether it's a diving box or whatever. But I think it's a progression with younger keepers. Like, you've got to get their understanding of why they're doing certain things in certain situations.
Yeah. No, I agree. And one of the reasons that what I was saying about the tactical thing is because it made me just think about how much I used to just focus on the technical, which is one of the reasons why I when I wrote this topic up, I called it redirection rather than boxing, because boxing signifies, when we talk about, for instance, tip overs, it signifies a certain motion rather than a destination or a goal that you want the goalkeeper to accomplish. Okay. Some associations don't call for boxing the ball. Some call for open hands, like we're talking about, fingertips, pushing a ball away, all sorts of things. So thinking of the actual idea of the concept of what you're trying to do rather than how you're doing it. And with that, Kat, I want to bring it back to you, because one thing that's become really common in the modern game now that used to not be there whatsoever is redirections of shots actually coming at you that are coming in direct. It used to be that people used to say, hold everything. But now there's a lot of boxing, for lack of a better term, of shots that are coming at you. So is this something that you do now with your game?
No, but I guess I feel like if a game situation calls for it, then yes. If I just feel like I can't hold on to this ball and I just need to get it out, or I feel like in Italy, you see a lot of different spins.
Yeah.
They have a lot of effect when on the ball, and they're very good at finishing. So then it's like in practice, you're seeing shot after shot after shot that you're like, man, okay, if this spin is super complicated and I know I can't hold on to it, then yeah, maybe just redirect it into a safe area. And then hopefully go get the rebound or goes out, or your team's there to help out.
I mean, I agree with you 100%, because I think the reason you're seeing that is because of the spin that's being put on the ball at a higher level of play, But the problem is when you get in and Saskia Webber is shooting a direct ball at my goalkeeper because they've been watching De Gea and them go like this and go like that for direct shots that are coming at 1,000 miles an hour and spinning all over the place. They're just doing it anyway. Yeah. And I think that we as coaches have to explain to them, I just shot the ball at you. I just popped the ball into you. Just catch it. But, as these balls, and yeah, absolutely, Kevin, these balls are moving. You're sitting here, you're set, you're ready to make the save, and the ball's, is all over the place. So you gotta do
what was that?
you gotta do what you can. I totally agree with that.
And Omar, can you hit those balls? Can you hit those knuckle moving balls like that, the Zlatan style?
I can't. I actually can't. In my new video that I'm posting, you see I break my tripod. I destroyed my tripod. I hit it right off the frame and it breaks my tripod leg and the camera falls and almost breaks. So, but yeah, no, I think, that was a maybe. I could do it, but not on call. Just happens naturally. But no, I think one thing that my goalkeeper coach told me when I was younger is that he gave me specific guidelines as to, okay, when you have the opportunity to punch Omar, even if it's a redeflected shot, for example, on a cross that came in like an in-swinger from a corner kick or somewhere that, 18 and down, he would say, when that ball comes in, if you punch it back towards the striker, make sure it's above head height. Just clear their head so they have no chance to bring it down. And if you hit it back towards them and it goes at head height, they have to actually chest it down and bring it down. And that gives you time to create depth and recover back to the line. Likewise, if you punch it down the middle, you want to make sure you get it above head height and outside the 18. And that was obviously one thing he always told me was, if you watch like David James, if you guys remember the game, I think it was the FA Cup final or one of those games, Liverpool versus Man United. And David James comes out into a crowd, punches a really weak one outside the 18 at knee height. And Eric Cantona shoots a ball straight through traffic and he scores. So that was one that he just kept saying, Omar, just imagine that. You don't want that to happen to you. Make anything you do, make the forward have to try and at least bring it down and give them something hard to work with. So that it was a guideline. It wasn't an absolute, like you have to do this, you have to do that. But at least I knew that, okay, all my mini decisions up until this point where I'm in a good position to punch, now that I've completed all of those in the checklist, now this is the last thing I need to do is push it above head height back to where it came from, or above head height outside the 18 from where it came from, or down the middle, excuse me. So I always had an idea of what I needed to do once I got into those scenarios, but he never forced it out of us. As long as you're effective and you're influencing the ball in a certain way that allows you to get back to your feet or allows your defense to readjust and get back into the position they need to do to obviously protect the goal, then by all means, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Omar and goal? He's like, okay, so I'm in the right position.
With a notepad.
This is an in-swinger, check. Okay, now I have to box the ball head height and get it over, check. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but I would say, and I think from Saskia watching some of your highlights, Catalina watching some of your highlights, Mike, unfortunately, there's nothing on Y-Scout from you, but but
Dude,
what
I told you I could find some VHS tapes or DVDs with me.
8 tracks.
No, but I think we could all agree that once you get to a certain level, your IQ and your reading of the game has to be at a level that is just so much higher that you separate yourself from other goalkeepers. There's guys I know we talk about who have incredible technique, but once they're forced into decision making and reading the game, they have no idea how to use and apply that technique because they've been in isolation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the speed of it.
Exactly. And I could even say, sorry, Mike, to cut you off, but like Catalina, even like your 1v1 situations, I've noticed where you come out, you almost go with the hands, but you give yourself the option. If they cut you the opposite way, your legs are trailing. So again, that IQ is like, okay, even if I don't read it properly this way, I'm not completely out of it because my legs can also trail and help me out this way. So I think it's obviously seeing those scenarios, but making sure that you have as many tools in your toolbox to keep as many of options open for a variety of saves. And I think that comes with the IQ and reading of the game. And I think that to play at the next level, you have to have that.
Kat, just bringing that back up and just to keep boasting you on the podcast right here I love the improvisation that you have in your game. I've actually, I mean, truth be told, I've known about you for a little bit because, you kind of came onto the scene, as a very young goalkeeper. And people were taking notice. But one thing that I really admired about you is that when something wasn't going the way you expected it to, you were able to adjust on the fly and make a decision and go with it, whether it was the best decision or not the best decision. But you have that ability to make that emergency save where, okay, even if it's not quote unquote going on frame type of a thing, it's a bouncing ball in the box. You know how to redirect that ball into a space so that you live another day, rather than like, oh, you know what, I have to go second ball. I'm always supposed to hold on to that ball. No, you'll touch the ball, let it bounce off the ground away if that's the best decision, because then you get up and now you're in a recovery space. So, I think that's something that's really missing. And I know you played college in the United States, which is obviously a different experience. Was that something that you saw was missing kind of in the American game? Is that understanding of like, hey, let's be able to adjust? Because I feel like a lot of American goalkeepers are kind of robotic. And I don't mean to throw the American goalkeepers under the bus for you. So
I don't think like I actually like thought about it before. I think that like in a way I'm very like Omar, that like I like to be like, okay, if this kind of ball I do this kind of ball I do that. And like when I go through all my visualization before a game, I do sometimes do that. Okay, so if a breakaway comes in like this, so like if I have ample space and I'm coming out and I'm grabbing it. if the forward is approaching me, then I'm gonna slap it like with the same force that she's coming at. If like I know I can't hold on, or if she's coming on completely alone, I'm hopefully in between the 6 and the PK spot, and as she moves, like, so I like go through all that, or think in corners. Okay, like my path for this kind of ball is like this, and like, so like I do that, but then I feel like that gives me like I guess I feel like I try to see the game before, and so when the real game comes, I give myself like the freedom of, okay, I saw this before, and then try to just trust my instinct. And then I think a lot of times, like you said, like you like learn so many different ways to do something, and it just happens to come out. Okay, I did the Colombian style dive for this ball and the American style dive with this ball. But I feel like also growing up, like I think a lot of times I was like expecting, like not expecting criticism, but like I knew criticism would come because they were asking me to change my technique so much, or different people saw the game completely different. So I know, okay, like I have to get comfortable with the decision that I make, and then changing based on the feedback that I'm given. But if I try to overload my head with what exactly I'm supposed to do in this scenario, then you're going to get paralysis by analysis.
Yeah. No.
Paralysis by analysis.
I know. I felt like that was gonna be like a Saskiaism. If she was
I love my Saskiaism.
No. I think, you brought up a really, really good point, and I want to bring this kind of back to Saskia here in regards to overthinking things and the visualization, because Saskia actually in an episode not that long ago talked about peripheral vision, and I think it was the scanning the field episode with Bree. We were talking about the peripheral vision and how you need to know where everything is going on, because if you're in a redirection situation and you don't know where your backs are, or where that forward is coming from, like you're going to play it into a bad area because you just don't know, right?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily, I kind of I'm on the same page as Omar. Like,
okay,
I was taught to get it out, get it into safe places. So get it over that attacking line, get it over, and stuff, giving yourself the opportunity to recover and everything. So, with the flow of the ball, the pace of the ball, the shot of the ball, the direction, where's my best place to do that? No, I don't want to put it out for a corner kick. So where's my best ability to do that? Is the ball coming in this way? Is my best angle up and out that way? Is it up and out that way? Is it straight back to where it came from, and everything like that? So I think that I don't think it's as calculated as we're making it sound.
Okay.
Like,
see, you great athletes can just do that. Like me and Omar, we have to have a notepad.
No, but Omar brought it up. Like, Omar is right. Like,
Mike, don't bring me down with you.
It's not that. It's not. I was taught the same way Omar was, and I don't know how Kat was. Get it up, get it out, give yourself another chance. You know what I mean? Don't give it up for. Go with the flow of the ball. Don't try to fight the ball in a sense, because you're not gonna get the pressure. If you continue it on its way, if you go directly back and over, fine, that's fine. Get it up, get it out, and make sure you can recover.
Yeah.
I think you're kind of over analyzing it.
Okay.
Love
well,
you, but
no.
I think you're over analyzing.
Okay, well, I'm over analyzing this, but
Mike,
go ahead, Omar.
No, so I think again, it's very fresh in my mind because I just had this like a session that I posted about it. Is very exactly what we talk about now. Is one thing I mentioned to Noah was like, if you put yourself in a position where your arms are coming from a compact shape, where you're not already fully stretched, when you're like, right now, again, people who aren't watching, it's kind of hard. But if you're here and your arms are already stretched, you only have so much more to push. So when you actually decide to steer, decide to parry, making sure that you follow your body with a step. So your momentum's going in the right direction. But at the same time, too, having your arms come from a compact shape, so you have more push and actually direction ability. So I think that's the important one too, is once you decide that ball is, once you decide you're going to punch, making sure that you're coming from a compact shape so you have more push. But also too, Mike, you were talking about it earlier, when a ball comes kind of like head height through traffic, in my opinion, I try to go at least with a punch approach. Like right away, if I know I'm going to probably punch, I'm coming with a punch approach, because it's easier, in my opinion, to go from punch and then like maybe last minute try and open up the hands than trying to go for a catch all the way through and then last minute trying to close the fist. In my opinion, it could be different for everybody else, but if I know that I'm coming through traffic with a punch approach first, and then the runner decides to like they fall, or they don't pan out the way it's supposed to, then I can easily open my hands up and I probably catch the ball and soften my hands up. Yeah. But again, it's just coming from that compact approach, so you can get the ball up and miss some bodies.
Yeah, and I think also if your attack and positioning and angle on the ball is right, whether you're diving or whether you're attacking the ball, you're going in an attacking direction. You're not on your heels. You're not, the ball's not playing you. So if you decide to box the ball, if you decide to punch it, if you decide to parry it, your energy, and if you come from a compact approach, which I agree with, your energy is going to move that ball in the right direction, in the direction you want it to go in.
But my concern, and now maybe we're starting a debate right here, because I'm kind of under the understanding that the ball has momentum already. The ball already has speed on it. So I kind of like what Omar was saying in regards to when the ball comes in. If it's already got pace on it, you're better off letting that pace hit your hand and let your hand redirect the ball, because
right.
It's already
but
got
he's
speed.
Not saying stay compact. He's saying start at a compact position and come through. He's saying if you're already extended, you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Do you understand? You have no shape.
Yeah.
But if you start here, as you would if you're going to go catch the ball, you're not going to run around the field like that. Yeah. So if if you're going to go catch the ball, you're going to catch it like this. If you're going to go punch the ball, start from the compact position, meet that ball. Yeah.
Well, let's ask the big time pro right now here. Saskia, you were
it's fine. I'm just having a little mini 3-square debate.
No, you're like Hall of Fame. Like
no, it's okay. I don't think what Kat's got to be like, Saskia, you are old and you don't know what you're talking about. It's fine.
So I want to ask Kat, does that make do you do that? Do you stay compact first and then wait for the ball and then make a decision?
I feel like both. I think it depends. Like sometimes I do say, hey, like there's like the other team's play on a corner is like it's so compact like in my area that it's gonna be best if first I go with a punch. But also I guess reading it. But yeah,
Yeah, but I think you're totally misunderstanding me, Mike.
Okay.
I'm saying compact. I'm running around with my hands here. Are you freaking kidding me?
No.
That's not what I'm saying.
I didn't mean like T-Rex. I didn't mean like T-Rex style.
I'm standing here like I'm gonna punch the ball. I'm gonna box the ball. Like, come on.
I think just my concern is just as when working, and Kat's like, whoa, I've never seen them debate like this before on the show. My concern is just when I'm working with youngers. Because like we talk about, Saskia, you talk about this, kids take things very literal, right?
Very literal. So I think Omar was on point. I think your thought process is if you have to go to it in the same format that you're going, if I'm going up to catch the ball. If you've made the decision going up in a crowd, you're going up to box the ball, even one-hand box ball. You're going up and you make that decision as you get better at this to change and catch, you can. Instead of going T-Rex and running around like this and stuff like that. So I think that your question to us was like, as the evolution comes, as you get smarter and read the game and you get that, it becomes quicker. The decision is made in the play. I can't imagine Kat standing there in a corner. I'm sure we've all done it every once in a while going, only gonna box this ball. That's it. No matter what happens, I'm just gonna box it.
Oh, I've made that decision, and it does not go well for me. It does not go well for me at all.
You have to adapt to the flow of the game, and the higher level you get, the better you can do that.
Yeah.
No, Mike. So yeah, so two things. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Like Kat said, is sometimes we, on the flight of the path of the ball, sometimes we can misread it, and that's why sometimes you'll hear, commentators or goalkeeper coaches say, "Yeah, you just flapped at it," which means you had no power, no momentum, or anything like that. It's because you misread it, and now you're having to almost readjust your positioning from you thought it was coming in one position, it goes a little bit behind you, or a little bit in front of you, and you don't have enough more push. So that's the point that I think we're trying to make there, Mike, is coming from a compact shape once through traffic. And second thing is, I do have a clip, Mike, that I want to show you real quick.
Well, I was going to say, before you show a clip, Mike, we just talked about the Timmy Howard save in one of the corner kick save against Belgium. He overran it and had to make that split decision. He ended up boxing it.
That's right.
Out of the 18.
Because he had to readjust it in the middle of the moment.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But.
So
hi, Kat.
Kat, sorry.
Kat's like, what did I get into?
This clip is just De Gea making a save, but you guys can see on the replay slow-mo. Mike, you have to disable attendee screen. You disabled screen sharing. Wow.
I did. No, I didn't. Did I?
That's what it says.
How did I do that?
Host disabled attendee screen sharing. It's okay.
Hold on.
When do you think you'll get to leave and go back to Italy? We'll just talk amongst ourselves.
I never did that. How did that happen? It must be when I got the new program or whatever. That host disabled. Here, I'm going to make you a co-host.
This is a debacle.
Okay.
Maybe yeah. So now Omar's a co-host. Maybe now you can do it. Now can you screen share?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Ah, there we go. Yeah.
Can you see?
Not yet. Oh, here we go. Now we can see. Okay.
Okay, so look when he decides to push, even though it's in his body, look at compact, push. You know what I'm saying? So he has his arms in like a good recoil, then he can extend because he has a little bit more of a push.
His whole body and power is behind. So even if he decided to try to catch, but that's the same movement he would have taken. So his power and
gives himself more options. Yep.
So you think as his shape was going, he could have made the decision to catch if he felt that was the right decision.
It's a possibility.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
I mean, look at you can see him again on I'll put it in a little bit slower motion. Just how he decides. It's like it could be a catch, and then from there he decides, oh, you know what? There's going to be a guy right here. I should probably just push this away. Does that make sense? So he gives himself the best option to do both.
Yeah. Kat, do you ever do that? Right there, just like David De Gea.
In my head, I hope it looks like that.
My head. In all of our heads.
That's how I try to visualize.
I'm like, if you watch my games, they're like underwater soccer.
I like what you said there, right there, Omar, in regards to he saw that guy there and said, you know what, it's probably better for me to push this wall wide rather than try to catch that. I think that's something that's lost on kids.
Again, and that comes through, I mean, that Kat said, the visualization, but also too the understanding that through different scenarios and through training sessions, again, that's why we make things as game realistic as we can, so that they have that mental recall where, like, let's say they hit a short corner kick and now it's 2v1 with your defender. They end up paying the guy who, is coming inward. He's going to hit either a far post shot or a near post shot. And because of that, now you're probably going to have to advance yourself a little bit more. And when that shot comes through traffic, you're going to want to push it really, really, with some force, because you have everyone converging on you on that first post. So you want to push it at least above head height and get it out of the box. So at the very least, you miss some people. And if it lands to somebody who's, not zoning at the top of the 18, they have something difficult to work with versus an easy shot. But it's understanding the scenarios and understanding what's the peripheral vision, what's going on around you to make that obviously the important decision.
Yeah, we're getting close to an hour right here, guys. So we're just going to do just a couple more and then start wrapping this up. But Kat, I want to ask you this, because this is honestly my favorite, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode is because this is one of my favorite plays to do myself personally in goalkeeping is the redirection and letting the ball keep sailing on a flighted ball. Where you're tracking. As you're going, you recognize there's too much pressure there, and so you just get just a little bit of a touch just to redirect the ball. But so many goalkeepers, I don't know if you guys have all, I personally see, they try to get too much on the ball. And because they try to get too much on the ball, it ends up becoming a big mess. So, Kat,
continuing it on your way.
Exactly. So Kat, I want to ask you, like, what advice do you give young goalkeepers on how to be, like, relaxed and, like, understand, like, they don't have to do everything. They can let the ball do a lot of the work.
Yeah, I would say like, especially like when I'll never forget, when I got to the national team, like, and whatever they had me to do, I would just be like, I have to do this the best that I can, and in my head that meant the fastest that I can do it. And so a lot of times it looked like a train wreck, and like, so it was about like, so it's like a long learning process of like, hey, no, like, doing this to the best of my ability doesn't mean like going 100 miles an hour. It's how can I do this cleanly? How can I do this properly? How can I like pick up all the cues around me and make the correct decision? So I think it's about that. It's taking a step back and realizing the game, like, I gotta let the game come to me. I have to like relax, because my body's gotta, I can't perform well if I'm like super tight. So it's like, honestly, like having like mantras, like I like my coach growing up just would drill these things into me, and just be like, hey, find a few words that before a shot or before a time to make a big decision, that's going to relax your body, and that's going to trigger like your muscles to act. So like, I mean, I've used different ones like throughout my career, but sometimes it's stay tall, catch the ball, or it's just like calm, confident, strong. So just go through that, find what works for your family, whatever it is, and then like, it's letting the game come to you and not forcing yourself, not forcing your strength on the ball. If you're parrying, if you're tipping over, if you're kicking, anything.
I swear, you need to partner up with Saskia, and you guys need to do like a whole merchandise line. I love these phrases.
Our phrases.
They're so good. But I swear that like that little like bit right there, like Kat, Omar has seen today. I've been learning how to edit, and it's only going to keep getting worse.
So he's gonna make himself look really good.
No. But I want to edit that little clip, and I want all the kids to hear that, because that's such a good one. Well, guys, we're running on an hour right here, and we have a special request from an audience member right here. Unless Omar's got another video you want to show. You got another video you want to show before we?
I do not. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm retired.
So,
and Kat, what you just said is, I agree with you 100%. When you kind of reach a place in I don't want to say a Zen place, I'm not going there. You kind of reach a place that you have to like relax and like everything you've been taught, and go with it and stuff like that. And not force your power and your strength and everything. Like, you know how to play keeper.
No.
You're a great keeper. So keep it up.
So Hector Castro in the thing who has a young keeper at home, and then they want to know, first off, they had exclamation point with the Colombia flag. So they were very excited that you were on the show today. And Hector, such a sweet guy with young keepers at home who listen to the show consistently. Big solid insider right here. So I gotta answer this question for him. He asked, Kat, can you talk a little bit about your background story, how you came up and how you ended up playing college soccer in the United States?
Sure. So I moved to the U.S. when I was 4, with my mom, my dad, and my brother, and we were only supposed to spend a year there to learn English and stuff. Ended up staying through the time I got to high school, and then so I went through the whole club in the U.S. and like the whole club process. I played for Team Boca in Florida, and then was recruited to the University of Miami. I played at UM for 4 years, and then for I tore my ACL sophomore year, so I had a redshirt year. So I used my redshirt season to play at Mississippi State.
Gotcha. And then so that wait, were you there? Was Fallon at Miami when you were there?
Yeah.
Was Fallon Toll's choice? Oh my gosh! Wow, small world.
Well,
small world.
Goalkeeping.
It is. It's the goalkeeping union. So that's awesome. So then you went Mississippi State, and then while you're at Mississippi State, you ended up you got the #1 shirt for the Colombia national team, which that must be unreal. That must have been unreal.
Yeah, it was well, I had another injury in there, which, so I thought, like, coming out of college, like, I had all these dreams of turning pro right then, and I had that injury that, like, and I missed the qualifier for Colombia for the World Cup and the Olympics. So definitely a devastating moment for me of, like, oh my, like, what am I going to do with myself? Like, and then it's just like, how am I going to get back to where I was, and how am I going to become a better goalkeeper? So it's just like finding ways. Okay, I can't train at, like, because of my injury like I used to in this, like, I can't, like, go out and take a bunch of shots and stuff, but it's what can I do to continue preparing myself to goalkeep at a high level. And then thankfully I got another, like, I was able to recover, and that's when the Pan American Games came and got that opportunity to be the starting goalkeeper.
And then you got that gold medal, which is that's still one of my favorite pictures. So a little backstory to Saskia and Omar here before we wrap this up right here. I asked Kat, I said, hey, can you send us some pictures, for the promos and stuff? And she sends me a bunch of pictures. And then she was sending, I'm like, oh, what about that gold medal one? And then she starts laughing because Kat's got this picture of her biting the gold medal, which I think it's your profile picture right now, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you look at my medal, it has, like, teeth marks along all the times I've bitten it.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, guys. Well, we're going to start wrapping this up. Kat, if there's any, and maybe I'll connect you with Hector, a fellow Colombiano, who, if he ever, wants advice for his kids and stuff like that in the future. But if there's people like that out there who want to reach out to Kat, where's the best place for them to reach out?
Anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, email. I'm very accessible. Anything that I can do to help or to chat.
Awesome. And you can reach out to Saskia Webber at She Doesn't Believe That I Knew What I Was Talking About.
Oh my God, I'm never gonna live this down.
No. No. At Saskia _Webber. You can reach Omar Zini at El Mejor Entrenador de Arqueros del Mundo on Instagram.
Okay, I didn't get it.
The best goalkeeper coach in the world.
I told you to stop, dude. Omar, I want you to know.
I did it in Spanish. I did it in Spanish.
It sounded better in Spanish. I think I'm going to roll with that one.
I'm better in Spanish.
At ProGK Academy _ guys. Remember, contact at Inside the 18 Media. That's the number 18media.com. If you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or reach out to us at Goalkeeper Podcast. All right, guys, that's all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.